So interesting crowd here. You saw Cray, HP, and now IBM. So Seagate has lots of friends. So just think about that when you go to market with Seagate, is that they have a lot of backing from the what they call the big fish, which is, I don't know if we're the big fish now, but I'm here to represent the software-defined storage, software-defined integration infrastructure piece of IBM. So if you've been following IBM closely, which I hope you have, we've been kind of moving all of our sales and direction to a different type of mentality than your traditional IBM focus. So if you look at the Spectrum Storage family, so we basically rebranded a lot of our storage portfolio, rebranded a lot of the products that we had. We switched brands around, and we came up with this storage family called Spectrum Storage. And a big part of that is SpectrumScale, which we'll focus on in our integration with Seagate. But just give me a little bit of time to talk about the whole portfolio, where we've talked about Spectrum Control, which is the VSC storage line from Tivoli. We rebranded Tivoli Storage Manager as Spectrum Protect. We've taken our appliance structures, the SAN volume controller, SVCs, we've rebranded that as Spectrum Virtualize. The XIV software, which some of you are very familiar with in terms of hyperscale block technology. We've made that as Spectrum Accelerate. And obviously, you guys have all made fun of all the jokes we've had. We're rebranding GPFS to Elastic Storage, now SpectrumScale. So at this point on, we won't talk about any other names but SpectrumScale. And then obviously the LTFS technology for Spectrum Archive. So the whole goal of the whole software-defined storage is, as we are moving towards a full software-only portfolio, and putting all the Spectrum family together in a much tighter integration point than it was before. So right now you see there's ways to kind of mirror and match some of the control mechanisms and take the best part of each of these technologies and put it together with the best part of the other technologies in order to form a more cohesive suite of products that really defines and leads in the whole software-defined storage mechanism. So there's a lot of definitions of what software-defined storage is. A lot of people think of it as like hyper-converged. We have another term for it called hyperscale converged as well. So if you really think about it, it's making the fastest, most efficient, easiest to use any type of interface, type of storage mechanism that you can use on any type of hardware mechanism that's available to you. So if we look at I don't want to derail this, but we're here because big data is really big data, right? So there's compute, there's storage, networking. Data explosion is there. We need to expand on that. If you saw the original speaker, we're talking about exabytes, multiple exabytes of data in less than 10 years, just for that one place alone. So not necessarily have to talk about the explosion of data, but we have to talk about the economics of that data. How are you going to leverage your existing hardware, your existing storage portfolios? What are the mechanisms to bring it all together? Obviously, you just can't take all of your existing infrastructure and refresh 2 to 3 years down the road. What are you going to do with all the data migrations, all that stuff? That'd be kind of cool to do. But 670% more data. We're going to keep adding on storage, and how most efficient is it to kind of manage that storage infrastructure, and how innovative is it to deliver on those connection points? So you're going to look at all sorts of different technologies to put your data in. Same thing you do at home. You probably have flash storage. You have your terabyte archive storage, similar to saving someone mentioned, how do I save my picture? Look at all the different ways you save your picture. You have it on a flash drive, you have it on your phone, you transfer it to your backup storage at home, then you transfer it to the cloud. All those things you think of doing at home, that's what enterprises really do, right? And how are you going to manage all that from a single point of software? And that's really what we're trying to define here in software-defined storage mechanism. So now let's focus on scale. Scale has been around for a very long time under that other name, so it's very, very, very enterprise as well as supercomputing scale proven. So one of the things that we're trying to do is obviously reduce capital and operating expense. That's for supporting what we're terming now as cognitive applications, things we refer to as Watson. Like one of the things that obviously really HPC, supercomputing, those are just things to analyze data, analyze applications to a much faster rate, enable you to both access the same storage for any type of access point that you might have, whether that be object, file, CIFS, Samba, NFS, any of those things that your application requires to access data, those are enabled for you. Also, policy-driven data placement and compression, all of those same level of capabilities that you see in your NAS storage today in terms of how to access data, how to secure the data, how to make it more efficient to get those data and so forth. So accelerate the analytics application, and those are the next steps that we're going for today. It's really creating a robust ISV or application ecosystem to make it much faster to access the data no matter what the access point is. So we're talking about big data capabilities in Hadoop, trying to make those ecosystems much better and reduce the bottlenecks for high performance and parallel storage. And then obviously make it easier to use, okay? So all of those that have used SpectrumScale in the past, it was built really robust, very efficient, very exciting. But face it, it wasn't really easy to use because we were focused on a lot of supercomputing segments where CLI was okay, everybody used the scriptings and everything. But now as we move to the enterprise, as we've done in the last few years, we've made very large improvements in ease of use capabilities. So you can get these slides, and these are available. So we're a lot of verticals, a lot of customer use cases. Some of the things that you probably look at is 20% increased performance. That's managed yettabytes of data, 100x performant in terms of some sort of Hadoop ecoscale kind of environment. So those are the things that I won't belabor this point as I'm running out of time here. So again, SpectrumScale is around for a very long time. One of the things that we'd like to improve on, as I showed before, is obviously unified storage capabilities, being able to access it from multiple points of applications. The new paradigms of big data capabilities, as well as the new paradigms of openness in terms of OpenStack and object store, all those types of capabilities. Also the new security capabilities. How do you secure your data? All the new security policies, how do you do encryption, all those things are being included in the product to match all the different capabilities that you guys are looking for. So what's different between us? So you saw Seagate's been doing Lustre for a long time. They've been very successful at it. Why SpectrumScale? SpectrumScale is a very robust ecosystem on its own. With a lot of enterprise features that Lustre doesn't have. A lot of them that you can see here. In terms of some of the more important things are the active file management, sync capabilities, obviously all of the interfaces as we talked about before, routing and caching capabilities, JBOD style HDFS capabilities called File Placement Optimizer. All of the things that we're doing in terms of the file and object-based storage. So in the next release 4.2, we're actually coming out with the ability for you to access the data both as object and as file without having to copy data over from one repository to another. So all of these things are accelerating with the hardware, and those are the things that we're really doing with integration points with Seagate as we move into this partnership, as well as some of the things that we've seen in the past in terms of being able to support multiple types of hierarchies, multiple types of different repositories in order to have a single global namespace. So you can have the same namespace cover your tier 0, tier 1, all the way down to tape capabilities. So as I move along, and I'm sorry, but the font became really small for some reason. But for the 4 areas of concentration as we move along, simplifying the management capabilities, obviously making it faster, more secure, enterprise features, software-defined agility, and then enable global collaboration. And that's really the 4 key goals that we're looking for as we move in the future with SpectrumScale. You'll see this in our booth. I won't talk about it much today, but really, again, 4.2 is going to be released and announced at the show today. There's client experience focus, the object store capability that I've talked about, native Hadoop support, the ability to integrate it with the Ambari, which is the open source installations for like the Hortonworks stack and also open source Hadoop management capabilities, and overall scalability capabilities in the past. Just screenshots of what you'll see in terms of the new GUI. So we've taken the whole Spectrum product line and kind of settled on one single type of look and feel for all of the interfaces. So, and also we're trying to integrate them all together. So a Spectrum Control is our overall storage resource management capability. That'll have the capability of managing SpectrumScale, but also all of the other storage capabilities that we have. So if you have special storage requirements for block, other things, and then scale, you can control it all in one. You can then control the dedupe replication from our Spectrum Protect product line, which we're working to integrate with our integration with Seagate as well. So all of those things are built in. So what you'll see is a new GUI for SpectrumScale, so that obviously makes it easier to use, makes it easier to manage, makes all of the things much easier to implement. Redefining the unified storage, again, all of the different interface capabilities. So we've always had these 4. We've actually made this a supported interface, the SMB interface. And then obviously the big release is the Swift S3 productized version. We've actually semi-released it in the last version, but now we're making that a full product initiative. Again, single management pane, high performance, and scalability is what SpectrumScale has been all about. Improved compression, security. So in the last 2 features of SpectrumScale, we've really done a lot with security capabilities, storage efficiencies, I/O bandwidth, all of those things. Client-side caching with several flash technologies for metadata performance and all those things. And we hope to incorporate that within our Seagate integration as well. Performance optimizations, as always, every release is a key to the strength of SpectrumScale. We're doing a lot with quality of service capabilities, I/O thresholds, quota performance, flexible policies, write cache capabilities, and all these things, and metadata acceleration. So lifting the data to the highest tiers, all those things, because as you saw, data lives in tiers. So flash, SSDs, RAM, disk, tape, cloud. All of those tiers that you have to consider as you manage the life cycle of your data. And that's one of the key strengths of SpectrumScale is the life cycle management and single global namespace, no matter where your data resides. That's really one of the efficiencies of managing the data and being able to have it readily available for any analytic or HPC requirement that you might have. So I'm proud to introduce, we've been doing this for a long time, the Seagate Cluster Store with SpectrumScale, the G200, as you saw earlier. So 5 unique solution values, and this is, I think, being shown on the, well, it is being shown on the Seagate booth, so stop on by. We'd be happy to answer your questions. I'm going to be hanging around there as well, or you can find me on the floors if you have any questions on that. But the cool thing about Seagate is they're very well versed in the SpectrumScale technology. So they have a lot of experience with it. They have a lot of experience, obviously, in this market. They've been in it as long as IBM has. So one of the things that you'll see is, obviously, it's a pre-integrated, tested, tuned solution, shipped and ready to deploy. And then obviously it inherits both our strengths and capabilities in terms of scalability, reliability, and all those things, the IDIs that make it a really viable product to put to market. So to put it all together, SpectrumScale brings it all together in terms of all of the capabilities in terms of how you would look at it as a possible replacement, not just in HPC, but also in enterprise file storage. So as it's definitely ready to fully replace a NAS solution. So it's got all of the different interfaces for Hadoop, all of the different interfaces for accessing all of the various capabilities, supports all the different types of tiers, object level, and all those things. So thank you very much. I hope you can stop by our booth. We have several SpectrumScale presentations, as well as the SpectrumScale presentation on the Seagate booth as well.